The radical left's agendas are attacking your American values. But conservatives like you haven't forgotten what this country was built on. My friends, the Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard and to represent your values in the swamp and quagmire of D.C. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and will not give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
America, Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. Hello, 877-381-3811. Welcome, welcome, and welcome again. What is an influencer? Where did this word come from? I can't stand this word. It's like ceasefire. I can't stand that word, Mr. Producer. Victory is what I like. That's a word I like. Victory. But an influencer, what does that mean? It's like progressives. They go, oh, we're progressives. No, you're not. You're Marxists. I'm an influencer. With whom? Even saw Mike Pence got in on the game. And they need to release everything in the Epstein files. You know, Mike Davis, he put out really great post, and I will get to that in a little bit. We're not going to spend all day on this, that's for sure. But there's this guy on CNN. He's their data guy, Harry Enton. This guy makes poll numbers and data numbers exciting. But he's also a pro. He calls it as he sees it, even over at the Constipated News Network. And I want you to listen to what he has to say. Now, we've had 2 weeks, 3 weeks of this Epstein stuff. We have people pounding themselves on the chest saying, I've told the president he has to do this. I told the president he has to do that. He's got to do this. He's got to do that. The base is really angry with the president, We've got to discuss these things. We're really going to dig into this stuff. We got to... Bondi needs to go, and this one needs to go, and the other one's a crook, and that... Excuse me, slow down. Oh, and the Jews, Mossad, they're behind the whole thing. Okay, hold on. I've told you before, you, the American people, Mr. and Mrs. America, are to be treated with respect. You deserve respect. If you're going to take the time to listen to some podcaster, whether they use subscriptions or whether they do hits or clicks or whatever they do, if you're going to take the time to watch a television program or listen to a radio program, if you're going to take the time out of your life where you can do 1,000 other things, then you should be treated with respect, not manipulated, not talked down to, not fear-mongered to. What is this influencer stuff? What does that mean? that they have this incredible influence on you, Mr. and Mrs. America? You don't even know who 98% of these people are, nor should you, because they don't matter. So they've created this other world on the internet and social media, this other world where they interview each other, where they post each other's interviews, where they think they're God's gift. Most of them have accomplished absolutely nothing. Most of them have done absolutely nothing for the country. But they know how to put together seminars and organize stuff. They know how to interview each other and get headlines on Mediaite and the Drudge Report. And they work very closely now with the left-wing media, the Democrat Party media that hates your guts. They're literally exposing themselves. It's not a very pretty picture either. I want you to listen to this gentleman, Harry Enton, and at CNN, and they have new poll numbers. And it's not just them, all the polls. And you know what they're showing, Mr. Producer? That since all this brouhaha that's been created and the manipulation attempts against you, aimed at you, targeting you, President Trump's ratings among Republicans have gone even higher. They're like at 90%. They've gone higher. It reminds me of when President Trump made the bold decision to bomb those nuclear sites in Iran. Remember all that? 5 weeks of attacks on him. Me, of course, but 5 weeks of attacks. 94% of MAGA Republicans supported what he did. 94%. You can't do better than 94%. There's no better than 94%. And now 90% of Republicans back Donald Trump. And the media and the lefties and the Democrats and now these influencers, as my wife calls them, and I think I'll call them now, these de-influencers, have no impact. As a matter of fact, the impact is the opposite of what they're hoping for. I want you to listen to this. It's very important. These are facts. This is information. Cut 16, go.
I mean, look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all of these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down, Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% were Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex or close there too in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints or not.
You just proved that not everything online is real in real life.
Now, let's stop there. I'm amazed. CNN is doing this. We ought to be doing this. Fox ought to be doing all of us ought to be doing this. I told you before, this online stuff, this social media stuff, is a cesspool. It's a cesspool. And so bigots and racists and anti-Semites, they rise to the top. They don't need many to have a following and to make millions. They don't need much. They don't need much. And listen to these people, self-aggrandizing. They're narcissists. They're egomaniacs. About all this influence they have. They have no influence. None. They have no influence. I told you yesterday, Donald Trump got elected president because Donald Trump got elected president. It had nothing to do with these self-anointed, self-identified influencers. They did it. No podcaster. I don't care how big they are. You elected Donald Trump. You wanted Donald Trump. It didn't matter what these Lilliputians or these reprobates had to say. And it doesn't matter today what they have to say. Because you know he's doing the things that need to be done to save this republic. From the border, from the economy, to the military, deportation, supporting the cops, cutting taxes. You and I know that but for Donald Trump, this country would be dying. Can you imagine? And we're going to let some punk ass with a microphone and a video tell us what to think? Whatever happens to the Epstein matter, happens to the Epstein matter. It's not going to determine whether we're a free country, whether the economy is robust, whether we can deport criminals. Nothing. Zero. Go ahead, Mr. Producer.
Amazing.
Twitter and X are not reality.
Is there any reason that you can find that this hasn't...
You understand what he's saying? Because he's correct. Social media is not reality. It's not. Now, it can be a good livelihood, a good career for these de-influencers. I got it. They can get very wealthy off it. I got it. But what did I explain to you last week and the week before? They have to get increasingly radical, increasingly extreme in order to draw attention to themselves. They've got to draw attention. They've got to have eyes and hits and clicks and subscribers. They've got to draw attention to themselves any way they possibly can. They monitor it not only on a daily basis, on an hourly basis. And so they're not focused on 330 million Americans. They're focused on maybe 1 million Americans, maybe 5 billion Americans, whatever it is. And then you have these websites like Mediocrite or the Sludge Report. They're not focused on 330 million Americans either. They just need enough hits and views and so forth and so on to make their business profitable. That's it. There's a whole underworld going on here. They call it new media. We hope that new media would be better, but big aspects of new media are even worse. They're even worse. They have ridden Donald Trump. Ridden Donald Trump. They've held on to his suit jacket so they can be noticed. So they can be noticed. They're trying to exploit him. They claim that they're responsible for his victory and that he is answerable to them, meaning you and I are answerable to them. No, we're not. Not with these punk asses. No, we're not responsible to them. We don't answer to them. I want to play this from the top, then we're going to move on. But this is very, very important. Start at the top. Cut 16, please go.
I mean, look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all of these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down, Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approval of Republicans. This week out, 90% were Republicans.
And keep in mind, these are not friendly pollsters. CNN and Quinnipiac. They're not. They're not friendly to Trump or Republicans. Go ahead.
Approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex or close there too in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints or not.
You just proved that not everything online is real in real life.
Who knew?
Amazing.
Twitter and X are not reality.
Is there any reason that you can find that this hasn't taken hold and hurt him?
Yeah. I mean, on X, all you hear about is the Epstein files. But how about out in the real public? Republicans who said the top issue was Epstein case. The answer is one, and not 1%. One responded. This was a great little finding that Ariel Edwards-Levy, who of course is part of our polling unit, found. Just one single Republican.
You understand that? With all the people they interviewed for the polling, one person said this was the top of the list. One. Probably one of these de-influencers. Go ahead.
Problem is, in fact, the Epstein case. Not much of a surprise that, therefore, Donald Trump's approval rating has not suffered with Republicans because of the Epstein case, because the bottom line is most Americans say it's not high up on their priority list.
And this is how we lose a midterm election if we don't focus on the Trump victories. And if we lose the midterm elections, I'm going to blame these de-influencers because they're undermining us right now. Trump is at the apex of his presidency. Mike Davis, a good man, a lawyer. You've seen him on TV, smart guy. Says, here's the problem with the Epstein mess. The FBI doesn't have the evidence many thought it did. There are no tapes with powerful men raping kids. There is no list. Epstein's Rolodex is already public, by the way. This is him. And the file's largely unreleasable for many reasons. Number one, grand jury materials. Number two, court records under seal. Number three, child pornography, which cannot be made public. Number four, the protection of victims and their names. Number five, unsubstantiated, even double or triple hearsay, bogus claims like we saw during the Kavanaugh proceedings, which would permanently destroy the reputation of innocent people if released. Does anyone really believe Bondi and Patel and Bongino would cover up for the likes of Bill Clinton or Bill Gates if they had that evidence? The Trump Justice Department wanted to be fully transparent, but it can't for the reasons above. This is a case of no good deed goes unpunished. This is no doubt unsatisfying to many, but that's the hard truth. And Mike Davis is right. That's the hard truth. Now, you can go back and listen to the de-influencers. And the other hard truth is that this effort to claim that our intelligence services, the CIA, who's now led by a great patriot, and the Israeli intelligence, Mossad, had anything to do with Epstein is such a bald-faced lie. And the basis they use it on, as I've told you over and over again, is the Daily Beast, a reporter who stated that I was told by somebody who was told, who said they told that the U.S. attorney told them that Epstein had intelligence connections. That's double hearsay. And I don't remember the word Mossad even coming up. These people are frauds, America. They're con men. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, the American flag is under attack. We saw it mocked and burned in L.A. during protests. And when people attack the American flag, aren't they attacking everything it stands for? The sacrifice of our troops, the values of our founding, the promise of liberty and justice for all. Thankfully, patriots like you haven't forgotten what the flag stands for. You're the reason the Heritage Foundation created Flags of Our Fathers, the meaning and history of the U.S. flag. This is a resource for patriots like you to remind and refresh ourselves of the American flag's history and deep importance to our nation. Claim your free copy today at heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. If we lose the meaning of our flag, we risk losing our nation. That's why it's imperative that patriots just like you take advantage of the Heritage Foundation's new resource, Flags of Our Fathers. Let's do our part in this fight by going to heritage.org/Levin right now. Heritage.org/LEVIN, paid for by the Heritage Foundation. Yeah, and it was Trump who ordered a review of all this. That's what Davis means by no good deed goes unanswered. He could have blown it off altogether. 3 attorneys general, 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat. They said Epstein committed suicide. Why would they lie about that? And by the way, I can't think of a better outcome, Mr. Producer. I don't mean to be harsh, but given what this man was up to, and his girlfriend, who was involved in it, she's doing 20 years in prison. So what is a special prosecutor going to do? These people don't even know what they're asking for. They don't want a special prosecutor. A special prosecutor prosecutes. One guy's dead. The woman's in prison. There's a 5-year statute of limitations for most of this stuff. What are they going to prosecute exactly? What do they mean, an independent investigation because we can't trust Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino? Is that what they're saying? Folks, we've seen in our streets over the past several months the burning of the American flag. Even worse, we saw the Mexican flag and the Palestinian flag waved defiantly during LA's violent riots. There's something seriously wrong with that picture. The American flag is under attack across the country, and with it, the American promise of liberty. But while the left attacks our flag and everything else we hold dear, bold conservatives like you across the country refuse to let the flag fall. That's why the Heritage Foundation created Flags of Our Fathers, a critical resource for patriots who want to remind ourselves of the American flag's history. Flags of Our Fathers contains the untold history of the flag's creation and the meaning of the stars and stripes. Let's take a stand for the American flag today by going to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin, and claiming your free copy of Flags of Our Fathers. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Mark Levin, simply the smartest man on radio. And you can call him 877-381-3811.
Let me ask you folks a question. You got this Mark Halpern out there now saying, I understand there's some stuff here that may upset Donald Trump. Let me just ask you a question. They tried to take out Donald Trump, did they not, Mr. Producer? They threw everything in the kitchen sink at him. Civil suits, criminal suits, 5 different jurisdictions, everything they could think of. They did more than that. They smeared him, they lied about him. Don't you think if the Biden Justice Department had something on Donald Trump, Mr. Producer, they would have released it? I mean, America, this is just basic common sense. Basic common sense. You just have all these people who now have access, given the new technologies and communication and broadcasting and platforms and so forth. They can be as stupid as hell. They can be negative IQ territory. They can be frauds. I mean, we have the fraud room, calls it the war room, but we know what that's all about. They can be guys that have paid for prostitutes, many of them. We know about that guy. He could be a guy that was a libertarian, a liberal, a neocon, and a conservative, and now a nut job. We know who that is. Somebody who couldn't hold a job, had many previous jobs, and now they wind up with a subscription service. Well, there's several of them. And I can go on and on and on. Complete whack jobs. But they're influencers. Influencers. Well, they're not influencing you. Now, it may well be there's a lot of people who live on social media and the internet, but there's a hell of a lot of people who dabble in it, but they don't live there. I'm one of them. I don't live there. There is a radio in every single vehicle on the road. Doesn't mean you listen to radio. Maybe you listen to iPods. It's okay. But there is a connection in every single newer vehicle, and not that new, but newer vehicle, where you can plug in your handheld phone, you know, your Android or your iPhone or whatever you use, and listen. Or you can stream it and listen. This show is everywhere. Everywhere. It's on satellite. It's on AM and FM. It's on live streaming on a computer, a laptop, what have you. It's on YouTube. It's on the Mark Levin app, the iHeartRadio app. There are other platforms. I don't even know what the hell they are. We are everywhere. Everywhere. In fact, the audience is so huge, we can't even do an accurate count of it. Nielsen can't do an accurate count of it. They can't accurately count it. That's how big it is. That's how ubiquitous this audience is. It's impossible to keep track of it. It's impossible to really know. Except we know because of the market system. Because we have fantastic radio stations. We have a fantastic satellite partner. On the internet, we're all over the place. All over the place. We don't just do one thing. We don't just do a podcast. We don't just do a radio show. We don't just do a TV show. We use all the platforms. All of them. And do I come behind this microphone? I'm an influencer. Is that the dumbest damn thing you've ever heard? People who you don't even really know, they're influencers. Because they influence each other, they have a relatively small cabal. Tell you something else. When they list how many followers you have, it's a lie. You got 20 million, 16 million followers. What is a follower? Let's take Twitter as an example. You've gone on Twitter. Maybe you say, oh, I follow this guy. Maybe you don't listen to him ever again. But forevermore, even when you're dead and gone, you're counted as a follower for that podcaster. Right, Mr. Producer? There's no way to clean up that list. So whatever the number is, it's smaller. It's smaller. If I wanted to be a podcaster and only a podcaster, can you imagine the number of quote-unquote followers this program would have? But that's not what I want to do. We have a bigger reach because we've decided that we want to use all the platforms. We are ubiquitous. Whereas others decide they're only going to be a podcaster or a subscription service or a whatever the hell they are. Not me. I want to get the word out all over the place. We have a country to save, a country to promote. All right, enough of this for now. This weekend, we're going to have two great shows on Fox. I'm telling you this for a reason. As you know, it's 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's the toughest time on the weekends. We're up against sports. We're up against specials. We're up against some of the highest rated programming on network TV. But we don't care. We do the very best we can, and we do very well. And so, on Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, we have Elise Stefanik and we have Dan Hoffman. And they're two fantastic guests. Hoffman was the CIA station chief in Moscow. You've seen him on Fox before, but you haven't seen me question him before. I've never spoken to him in my life. And Elise Stefanik, look, there are people who do interviews and people who do interviews. I do a different type of interview. Number one, I try to ask a question that I think is important, not just one that's superficial. And then I actually let the guest finish and provide an answer. This is different. This is a long-form interview program. This is what I grew up enjoying, whether it was Milton Friedman or Bill Buckley and so forth and so on. I have guests on so we can learn from them and listen to them, right? That's why you're a host. You have guests on to listen to them. And then Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, we have the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. And I want to thank Mike Johnson because he had a very busy schedule, but he moved his events around in order to come on. And same with Jack Keane, General Keane. I want to talk about the president's brilliant stroke in dealing with Russia and NATO. I mean, folks, seriously, do you understand how smart this guy is? Do you understand what he's doing for the country? I am serious about this. He's doing things you'd never even imagined before. He's getting American military equipment, the best in the world, to Ukraine. And the Europeans are paying for it. He's gotten them to do something no president's been able to get them to do, to increase the percentage that they contribute to their own defense, and ours do, to 5%. They weren't even doing 2%, some of these countries. He's also managed to negotiate a deal with Ukraine where we have access to these rare earth minerals. Now think about all this. Is there another person who could be president of the United States that would have done any of that? No, there's not. There's not. There's a study out today that proved all of us wrong, except him. That in fact, tariffs, for the most part, are not being paid by consumers, you and me. They are in fact being eaten by most of the producers overseas. That's what the study said. Did you see that, Mr. Producer? You don't hear about it. You don't hear about it. So if there's any price increase going on, for the most part, it's not due to the tariffs. Because these other countries and their businesses are eating them. Now that is unexpected to people like me, but not to Trump. Okay, is there another president that would be doing what he's doing? Here's the other thing. Reagan defeated the Soviet Union. Defeated the Soviet Union economically, and then it fell militarily. Donald Trump has taken that model and has applied it across the world. Not to defeat countries, but to force them to invest in America. And yes, to defeat enemy countries. Yes. Donald Trump saw an America that was losing its status as a superpower. And we had nuclear weapons, but our industrial heartland. We were losing our industries. We were losing our skilled labor force. And he said, I got to fix this. I got to fix this, or we're going to become a paper tiger economically here. The entire establishment opposed him. The entire establishment opposed him. Both parties. Now you have Langone, the billionaire from Home Depot, who's a rhino. He says, this guy has the potential of being one of the greatest presidents ever. I'm a believer now, because he's seen what he's done. He's seen what he has done. He has secured the border. Do you understand? Not one illegal alien came into the country last month, and not one came into the country the month before, at least according to the authorities who monitor these things. Not one! Not one! 2 months in a row. Did you ever imagine that? Ever? Of course not. Neither did I. Not one. That's stunning. He just gets a bill passed that triples the size of ICE, that triples the size of the Border Patrol, that gets them the technology and the equipment they need, even before they get any of that. Not one. I think he's making the impossible possible, and people are getting used to it. So it doesn't seem like a great feat, but these are great accomplishments. Great accomplishments. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, the American flag is under attack. We saw it mocked and burned in L.A. during protests. And when people attack the American flag, aren't they attacking everything it stands for? The sacrifice of our troops, the values of our founding, the promise of liberty and justice for all. Thankfully, patriots like you haven't forgotten what the flag stands for. You're the reason the Heritage Foundation created Flags of Our Fathers, the meaning and history of the U.S. flag. This is a resource for patriots like you to remind and refresh ourselves of the American flag's history and deep importance to our nation. Claim your free copy today at heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. If we lose the meaning of our flag, we risk losing our nation. That's why it's imperative that patriots just like you take advantage of the Heritage Foundation's new resource, Flags of Our Fathers. Let's do our part in this fight by going to heritage.org/Levin right now. Heritage.org/LEVIN, paid for by the Heritage Foundation. You know, America, Mr. and Mrs. America, talking to you, not to all the others. You, Mr. and Mrs. America. Put a big smile on your face. Got the right man in the Oval Office at the right time. He's doing the right things. You did this. You elected him. You're the real influencers. You. We the people. We the people. And you did the right thing. Against all odds. I am a blessed man. Let me look. Yes, a man. To be behind this microphone and to have you in this audience who think enough of me to listen to this program. And I think enough of you to treat you with respect. I call this the nation's national town hall meeting. We do this every evening, 5 days a week. This is the nation's town hall meeting right here. And we have trust in each other. We respect each other. And we're on the same sheet of music. Same sheet of music. Don't forget, I would say the 3 greatest books I've ever written. I've written 11 of them. Putting Rescuing Sprite aside, 10 of them. Liberty and Tyranny, which helped launch the Tea Party movement. American Marxism. And my latest book on power. My book on power comes out in 11 days. It will be launched on Hannity's Friday show. It'll be further launched on my weekend show. I will be in New York doing several shows on Fox. I'll come back to base, and I'll be doing scores of interviews on radio and other platforms. Many of our friends, our wonderful affiliates, syndicated programs, and so forth and so on. I want you to get your foot in the door first. I want you to get your copy of this book so the day it comes out, it winds up on your doorstep. You go to Amazon.com. You'll pay less than $24. Yeah, less than $24. This book is loaded with, I think, is compelling information, a different way to think about liberty and rights, conversely, tyranny and the denial of rights. The word power. It's more than a word. It's more than a term. It's a fact. And what you're going to find when you read this book is a different way to look at things, a different ways to look at freedom and unalienable rights, different ways to look at consensual representative government, different ways to look at Marxism and Islamism and other forms of autocracy. It will really sharpen the way that you look at the world. And I think it's crucially important to counter so much of what's going on the dark side of the political spectrum. So you can go to Amazon.com and grab your copy right now. I'd encourage you to do that. And we'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. We'll have our book signing at the Reagan Library. We'll also have a meet and greet and a session where we speak and have dinner. And I understand from the Reagan Library, you can still sign up to come to have a book signed. And the Reagan Library is fantastic. The Dead Sea Scrolls, they actually have part of the Dead Sea Scrolls there as part of their program. They have wonderful programs there. So if you'd like to do that, the rest of it is sold out. But we have 2 other book signings I want to remind you about. Saturday, August 2nd. That's not far away. In fact, it's just a few days away, really. At a brand new location. We're very excited about this. We feel it'll be a better environment. Books and Greetings. Books and Greetings located in Northvale Square, Northvale, New Jersey. That'll be 1 p.m. Saturday, August 2nd. We hope to see all of you wonderful folks there. And again, that's Books and Greetings, located in Northvale Square, Northvale, New Jersey, August 2nd, Saturday. Then the following Saturday, August 9th at 10 a.m., Barnes & Noble, also a new location for us. The Spectrum at Reston Town Center, Reston, Virginia. Again, August 9th, 10 a.m., Barnes & Noble, the Spectrum at Reston Town Center in Reston, Virginia. Word to the wise here, it's good to get there a little bit earlier. I'm not saying we're going to have massive lines, but we tend to have lines. So it's probably a good idea to get there a little bit earlier. Both locations, there are wonderful restaurants in the area and so forth, great parking. So I'm very excited that we'll be doing Books and Greetings, an independently owned family bookstore in Northvale, New Jersey. It was time to find a new location and an ownership that's very motivated and excited there, and they are. And Barnes & Noble, was time to find a new location there, and we did a brand new Barnes & Noble, Reston Town Center in Reston, Virginia. This is all on is it on the website too, Mr. Producer? It's on marklevinshow.com, the website. We just posted it again on the social media platform, so it's all out there for anybody who's interested, and I hope that's a lot of you. I hope so. Because these books are written for you. Not written for me. Once I write it, I'm done, right? They're written for you. Bernie Sanders is on CNN. The Bernie Sanders is a Stalinist, as you know. And yet the cable networks, that is CNN and MSNBC, can't get enough of this guy. He's on them constantly. Even though he's a communist, a Stalinist. And they act like he's just a Democrat. He's not a Democrat, even though he kind of controls that party. This Mondani is one of his progeny, political progeny, like AOC and so forth. So this guy Sanders is a commie. He's a Stalinist form of a commie. And there he is on CNN like he's just another politician. Cut one, go.
But the truth is that the vast majority of the people who are being picked up, put in vans, sent to detention centers, and God knows what else, these are people who do not have criminal records in the United States of America. And I should tell you.
Okay, before you should tell us anything. America, what do our immigration laws say? What have they always said? We only deport people who commit heinous crimes? Is that what they say? Is that what they say, Mr. Producer? If you're here illegally, you're deported, or you're supposed to be deported because you broke our sovereignty. You came here uninvited. You jumped the line. You didn't follow the process. So you come here illegally, you're supposed to be removed. And so it doesn't say our immigration laws, passed by Democrats and Republicans, been in place. You know, the basic law has been in place since 1952. I looked all this up. The basic law, it's been amended from time to time. The basic law has been in existence 73 years. And it's never said that only people who come in here illegally and commit heinous crimes are to be deported. You're to be deported if you're here illegally, period. And I'm going to get into this big time with my opening statement and tie it all together on Saturday on Fox, so I hope you'll watch it. But this is where they need to be confronted. Now, he goes on and on for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and he's not confronted by the CNN host because the host is either a moron or a lefty and a moron. Probably the latter. Why do you think they bring this goon on, this thug on? Why do you think they do it? Why do you think they do it? Because they like what he says. They like what he says. So they'll bring on a Stalinist. Why don't they bring on some fascists? It's the other side of the coin, isn't it? It's the same thing, isn't it? Yeah, it's close enough. So why don't they do that? Why? Because we've mainstreamed Stalinism, Marxism. We've mainstreamed Islamism. And the Democrat Party is now embracing it and expanding it. That's why. And so I'm only playing this. I'm not going to play the whole minute and a half. Why? Because I don't want to stick a pencil through my ear. That's why. That's why. But I'm making the point here with this guy. and he's not the only one, that they're rounding up people who haven't committed crimes. So what? That's the way it's supposed to work. Now, I know this upsets him. I know it upsets Joe Rogan. I do, who voted for him. But so what? The vast majority of the American people believe illegal aliens should be deported. And there's also a reason to do it in addition to the law. You don't want to incentivize people to come here. Oh, I made it, but I won't commit a crime, so I get to stay. No, that's not the way it's supposed to work. Is it? Now, this isn't anything new. This is the way immigration laws are supposed to work. What's new is we have a president who's trying to enforce it. He's trying to follow the law. The very people who say he's not following the law, they're the ones who don't believe in following the law. Now we have this guy, Maxwell Frost. Notice his name isn't Maxwell Smart. Maxwell Frost. He's very focused, by the way, on his skin color. He's always talking about race and people like him and so forth and so on. But let's hear what he has to say about Alligator Alcatraz. Now, Alligator Alcatraz, essentially much of it was already built. They already had the runway there. They already had the infrastructure there. They really didn't have to do much to it other than refurbish it, strengthen it. But a lot of it was already there. And so Maxwell Frost, Democrat Florida, is very upset about all this. Cut 2, go.
No one with an eyes and a conscience can ignore what this really is. It's an internment camp.
Okay, so an internment camp. Now, this is what the Democrats do. Everything that is law enforcement is the Third Reich and Hitler. And yet, those who follow the Third Reich and Hitler have a very comfortable home in the Democrat Party. We call them Islamists. We call them Marxists. Yes, the Marxists didn't support Hitler, but the outcome is the same, is it not, America? So the home of the Marxists and the Islamists, they're the ones who keep calling people names about dictatorships and totalitarianism. It's an internment camp, is what he says. An internment camp. Now, if you believe these detention centers are internment camps, then you don't believe in upholding immigration law, and no wonder you support open borders and oppose deportation. An internment camp. No, he goes further, because everything has to be race with this guy. Go ahead.
People who look like me, Latinos, Haitian men, subjugated to inhumane conditions under the guise of immigration.
Latinos, Haitian men. Most of the people who've come here with open borders are people out of the third world, like Haitian men, people from Central and South America, people from the African continent, people from the Far East, Southeast Asia, people from the Middle East. It has nothing to do with color. It has nothing to do with what people look like. Does it? It has to do with the fact that people have broken the law. They've broken the law. So this moron, this low IQ punk, number one, he calls this place an internment camp, which it is not. Somebody ought to pay for him to take a trip to Auschwitz or Dachau so he can see what an internment camp looks like. Or maybe one of those 10 camps that was set up by Franklin Roosevelt. Truly, internment camps for Japanese Americans and Americans of Japanese descent. That's what his party does. That's what his party did. And notice he wasn't upset about internment camps under Biden. You notice that? Notice? Are our prisons internment camps too? This guy's a moron. He's also a racialist. A racialist. Go ahead.
It's disgusting. It's un-American. It demands
What's un-American?
oversight.
Does this guy even believe in America? Does he even believe in the rule of law, the Constitution? Does he even believe in our immigration laws? What does he mean when he says it's un-American? What does that mean? We don't have open borders and everybody who's here gets to stay? And so if you say no, that's un-American? No, that's quintessentially American. And by the way, that's every other nation on the face of the earth. It's not another nation. Well, Europe is destroying itself. Check that. Then we have Pramila Jayapal. Another Marxist crackpot comes straight out of Seattle. We love Seattle. We love the conservatives in Seattle. We can live without the rest. Pramila Jayapal. Cut 3, go.
Yesterday, I was at a food bank in my district talking about the SNAP cuts, the horrible SNAP cuts and Medicaid cuts. And they told me that...
Hold on. Medicaid cuts? Medicaid cuts? We're spending more in this budget on Medicaid than ever in American history, number one. But of course, she won't be challenged. Number two, illegal aliens are not supposed to get Medicaid. How about that? Number three, physically and mentally capable individuals are supposed to work at least 20 hours a week, even at a nonprofit, helping people eat, helping rescue dogs, helping those sort of things, in exchange for free medical care. But apparently that's a bridge too far. Some people would rather sit on their fat ass and get you to pay for their medical benefits while you're breaking your ass in your job. Now, Pramila Jayapal thinks that's perfectly fine. She calls that Medicaid cuts. She went to a food bank. Ladies and gentlemen, the budget's over $7 trillion. The debt is $37 trillion. And they're talking about cuts. Cuts to food banks. What the hell are they even talking about? Go ahead.
Are not even showing up to Head Start, where they get their food. They're not showing up to the food banks because they're afraid. And it's not just...
Who's afraid? Illegal aliens. What is she saying there, Mr. Illegal aliens aren't showing up for programs that American citizens are supposed to have? You see what I mean, America? I have a better idea. Okay, I have a better idea for Pramila Jayapal, for Maxwell Frost, for Bernie Sanders, for our friend Joe Rogan, who I don't know. I have an idea. Why waste our time? Why should these people even come to America to get freebies if we don't deport them? I have a better idea. You know what it is, Mr. Producer? I've mentioned this over the years. Why don't we just export the wealth that we create in this country to the rest of the world? Why don't we just do that? Why go through the motions? If people are here illegally and they have a right to stay and they have a right to have welfare benefits and all kinds of benefits, why make them trek all the way through God knows what to come to the United States when we could just send it to them? Why don't we just do that? I mean, after all, is it fair? Is it equitable? Is it equal that only the foreigners, the aliens who get into this country illegally and make it here, that they get the benefit of what you make and what you earn? That's not equal. That's not fair. There's all kind of people who are destitute. There's all kind of people all over the world who need help. So why limit it to the people who come here illegally? Why not just help them? And of course, the answer is you'll destroy the country. It's an impossibility. You can't have open borders in a welfare state. A greater man than I mentioned that, Milton Friedman. It's an impossibility. You'll destroy your country. And these same people talk about, oh, the spending's out of control. Oh, tax cuts for the rich. Oh, this, oh, that. Borders wide open. People coming in illegally. And they act like they're citizens. That is, the Democrats on the left. They act like they're citizens. And by God, you better not deport them. You better not deport them. I mean, after all, they have families and everything. Well, then don't put anybody in prison. You know, I made this point years ago. I notice it's being repeated now, and it's a good point. Because that breaks up families all the time. Problem is, if you talk to the people who support Soros, they'll say, see, we told you, get rid of the prisons. Anyway, let's start from the top with her again. She makes a point that I want to underscore. Cut 3, go.
Yesterday, I was at a food bank in my district talking about the SNAP cuts, the horrible SNAP cuts and Medicaid cuts. And they told me that people are not even showing up to Head Start, where they get their food. They're not showing up to the food banks because they're afraid. And it's not just undocumented immigrants. It is people of all legal statuses. It's undocumented immigrants who have been here for 20 years.
I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
If you're with one of the big three wireless carriers, you're really overpaying for your service, period. You're paying for thousands of retail stores you never go into. You're paying for unnecessary perks you never use. You're paying a massive premium for what you think is superior 5G service. Guess what? Pure Talk uses the same 5G network on the same 5G towers. The only difference, they don't charge you for any of the garbage. Instead, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data for just $25 a month. Folks, that's less than half the price of the big guys during a time when saving a buck really matters. I am a Pure Talk customer. I have been for years. I made the switch. It's easy. You can even keep your phone and your number. So do this. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. You can switch over to Pure Talk in as little as 10 minutes. That's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, to switch to Pure Talk, wireless by Americans, for Americans. It appears that we're also importing into the country open bigots. Bigots do not appreciate this country at all and start bad-mouthing and attacking the majority in this country. Only in America. Only in America. Omar Fateh is the Mamdani wannabe who's running for mayor of Minneapolis, which, of course, as you know, is very heavily Somali. He's from Somalia. And he's a racist. Just like... Anyway, go ahead. Omar, cut 6, go.
We heard them being called terrorists. We heard them being called drug dealers. We heard a lot of insults. We heard that they're a threat to our national security. And that's a flat-out lie. You want to know who the real threat is, Madam President? I'll give you a hint. They don't look like our chief author. They don't look like the folks up in the gallery. They don't look like the folks out in the rotunda. They look like many of the members that sit in the front. And you don't have to take my word for it. According to DHS, Madam President, the domestic...
In other words, the real domestic threat is white people, he said in 2023. It's white people. Says Omar Fateh, who's running for mayor of Minneapolis. It's getting sicker and sicker out there. If you're with one of the big three wireless carriers, you're really overpaying for your service, period. You're paying for thousands of retail stores you never go into. You're paying for unnecessary perks you never use. You're paying a massive premium for what you think is superior 5G service. Guess what? Pure Talk uses the same 5G network on the same 5G towers. The only difference, they don't charge you for any of the garbage. Instead, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data for just $25 a month. Folks, that's less than half the price of the big guys during a time when saving a buck really matters. I am a Pure Talk customer. I have been for years. I made the switch. It's easy. You can even keep your phone and your number. So do this. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. You can switch over to Pure Talk in as little as 10 minutes. That's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, to switch to Pure Talk, wireless by Americans, for Americans.
Mark Levin on the front line of liberty. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
I want to read something to you folks. It's not an easy thing to hear when I read it. Honestly, if you have children in the car or around the table and you're listening to this program, they should not listen to this. They should not listen to this. I want to read something to you by Haley Strack at National Review. the quest to hold Hamas accountable for sexual violence. I want you to hear this. When and if terrorists now detained in Israel are prosecuted, they should be charged with sexual violence, authors of a new report advise. Common points of discussion about the war in the Middle East, almost 2 years after Hamas invaded Israel, are the humanitarian aid situation, Israel's impressive effort to dismantle Iran's nuclear program, seemingly never-ending ceasefire talks. Survivors and victims on October 7th, though, are still healing. And more as time passes, their stories have gone untold. Which is why the DINAH Project, D-I-N-A-H, the DINAH Project compiled a comprehensive account of one of the most horrendous aspects of Hamas's attack, the terror organization's pervasive and strategic use of sexual violence. And it is amazing to me how the women's groups in America don't give a damn about this, or anywhere, for that matter, except in Israel. The terror organization's pervasive and strategic use of sexual violence. As early as October 8, when Hamas posted videos of the carnage on social media, it was easy to see that terrorists had brutalized and assaulted women. There was the video of Naama Levy, who was dragged by her hair into a Jeep with blood stains on the crotch area of her pants. There was the video of Shani Lauk, splayed out nude in the back of a truck bed as terrorists prodded at her with their feet and guns. There was testimony from forensic analysts who processed bodies. Israel Defense Forces killed the man who dragged Levy into the Jeep, Mohammed Abu Asid, in a September 2024 drone strike. The IDF also killed the terrorist who spat on Lauk's body, and it has killed or arrested other terrorists who abducted and abused females on that day. While the IDF seeks physical retribution, Israeli scholars and lawyers with the DINAH Project have done their part to ensure that victims' voices are heard. Released last week, and you haven't heard this anywhere, have you? You haven't heard it anywhere, have you? Released last week, the report compiles evidence from 5,000 photos and more than 50 hours of footage from the attacks. Experts also interviewed 34 survivors, witnesses, and released hostages, met with hostage families, residents of kibbutzim, and relevant Israeli scholars and politicians, and reviewed documents the IDF retrieved from Gaza to gain a fuller understanding of the scope of the attacks. DINAH Project scholars didn't discover anything unreported, but they were able to establish that there were clear patterns, methodologies even, of sexual abuse that occurred in different arenas of the attack. Rape, genital mutilation, and the use of sexual humiliation to advance war aims were systemic acts of terror, the DINAH Project found. Terrorists committed multiple acts of gang rape during the attack and multiple acts of rape and severe sexual assault both on October 7 and while hostages were kept in captivity. They also mutilated women in several cases. Survivors witnessed terrorists sexually assaulting dead victims as well. The assaults were spread throughout southern Israel, where terrorists attacked at the Nova Music Festival, at the Nalha Oz military base on Route 232, and in Gaza. The full nature of Hamas's attack may never be known, as Hamas murdered and silenced most of its victims. Israelis gathered and analyzed what information they could from talking bodies. First responders found, and I quote, bodies with objects inserted in their private parts, bodies with signs of shooting or other mutilations in the area of the genitalia, bodies of naked women cuffed onto tees, bodies of half-naked or fully naked women, some lying with their genitalia exposed and legs spread. These accounts happened mostly at the Nova Music Festival and at the civilian villages Kibbutz Be'eri, Kibbutz Aluman, and Kibbutz Nalha Oz, and Kibbutz Reem. Terrorists posted videos on Telegram and other social networks of the desecration of bodies of partially naked male hostages, including stomping on their genitalia, and forced partial or full nudity, sometimes accompanied by public display, sexual humiliation by various acts of violence, kicking, jumping over, stomping, directed at the genitalia or the buttocks, possible mutilation of the genitalia. The DINAH Project, these are animals. These are monsters. The Diner Project is one of the first groups to address the legal challenges behind such a proven systemic attack. After reviewing all the evidence, the group was able to reach the conclusion all terrorists who participated in the attack bear full responsibility for all acts of sexual violence committed during the attack, especially the commanders of the terrorists in the various locations. Attributing responsibility to the terrorist organization instead of individual terrorists legitimizes the theory, which has by all accounts been proven post-October 7, that Hamas's genocidal attack was motivated by the group's ideological backbone, which seeks to demonize Israel and the Jewish people. The attack and sexual assault of civilians was not a result of collateral conflict. The retired judge and lawyer who co-founded the Diner Project, and that would be Nava Ben-Or, told National Review, but a purpose in and of itself. Many international organizations, American student groups, and progressive politicians who laud themselves as defenders for survivors of sexual assault were suspiciously silent on Hamas's atrocities. Those who labeled rapists freedom fighters see Israel as the only side which is responsible for the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Ben-Or said, thus contextualizing Hamas's assault on Israeli civilians within the framework of Israel's colonialist occupation, they say, of Palestinian territory. So it was accepted and is acceptable. It's very agonizing, he said, because this means that raping women can be contextualized, that there are some circumstances in which it is legitimate, or at least understandable. It's an inevitable conclusion that if you keep quiet, then you actually say, well, this is okay because they're colonialists. They're Jews, and the Jews deserve it. Wouldn't if terrorists now detained in Israel are prosecuted, they should be charged with sexual violence, authors advise. Hamas should also be blacklisted internationally as a terror group. The United Nations has never done it, and we think it's deplorable, Ben-Or said. Nothing will undo what happened, but at least the feeling that the world acknowledges the attack and takes responsibility in trying to avoid the next attack would be justice. Those poor young kids who were at that Nova Festival, and those IDF soldiers, many of them young women, in that IDF location that was overrun, what was done to them is unspeakable. And these monsters took video of what they did. They took video. They were proud of it. Even the Nazis tried to cover up what they had done as the Allies were encircling them and moving into these concentration camps with the mass graves, with the ovens, killing as many as they could, covering up as fast as they could, but not the Hamas Palestinians. They wanted the world to see. They wanted the world to know what they were doing. And so when you see a man running for mayor in New York City who refuses to denounce global intifada, on October 8th, the day after the Hamas invasion of Israel, started making excuses like his father, justifying that these people, you see, were oppressed, even though they were free, living in Gaza on the Mediterranean Sea, even though they voted for Hamas, even though they invaded Israel and slaughtered its people. You know what happened in Texas, and these little girls and counselors and other people on July 4th was so horrendous. There's still like 150, 170 bodies missing. They're not sure how many. They've retrieved about 120, 140. It broke our hearts. It breaks our hearts as Americans. It's a terrible, terrible thing. But imagine if terrorists come across our border, not just murder 1,200 of our people, 1,200, but our young people, and gang rape them and torture them. There are horrendous stories about the breasts of these women being cut off and thrown around like a football. And the mutilation as they're alive. Imagine what we would do. And then to watch people in the streets celebrating Hamas. So-called influencers, or de-influencers, as my wife properly calls them now, who attack the Israelis and the Jews, who've done absolutely nothing except try to live in their ancestral homes. They didn't remove anybody. They were removed thousands of years ago on multiple occasions. If you go to Israel and you go to the city of David, you go to Jerusalem, you go to Shiloh, you go to Hebron, you go to all these places, they're in the Bible, you'll see where Abraham is buried, and Isaac, Jacob, and Rachel, Sarah. You'll see where Jesus walked. It's all there. You can touch it with your hands. It's all there. I read this article to you. You won't hear about it from anybody else or anywhere else. They'll be busy talking about the Epstein cover-up. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
If you're with one of the big three wireless carriers, you're really overpaying for your service, period. You're paying for thousands of retail stores you never go into. You're paying for unnecessary perks you never use. You're paying a massive premium for what you think is superior 5G service. Guess what? Pure Talk uses the same 5G network on the same 5G towers. The only difference, they don't charge you for any of the garbage. Instead, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data for just $25 a month. Folks, that's less than half the price of the big guys during a time when saving a buck really matters. I am a Pure Talk customer. I have been for years. I made the switch. It's easy. You can even keep your phone and your number. So do this. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. You can switch over to Pure Talk in as little as 10 minutes. That's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, to switch to Pure Talk, wireless by Americans, for Americans.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Wow, a lot breaking, a lot to get to, America. Not in a particular order, but this just came out. CBS is canceling Late Show with Stephen Colbert, citing financial decision. TV's ongoing problems with late night have come for Stephen Colbert. The decision, which ends years of original late night programming at CBS that started when the network lured David Letterman from NBC in 1993. Well, they're blaming it on economic woes, but this guy was awful. He helped destroy network late night comedy, which used to be so good. And I think he was the leading thug, the leading gangster to do that. You know, he was not funny. His writers weren't funny. He was all ideological, actually quite a dumb person, snarky, sarcastic, but dumb nonetheless. So his time is up, at least on CBS. So good riddance. Out with the garbage. I mean it. And there's two big stories right now that just broke. And that includes, on Fox News, study claims U.S. news outlets served as megaphones for Hamas in the Gaza war. And I told you this day in and day out what they were doing. But now there's an actual study. Study paints harrowing picture of media narratives for humanitarian aid in Gaza. A new study by the Network Contagion Research Institute. Now, this is an organization I brought to the attention of the nation, you and the radio, Fox, elsewhere. An outstanding organization. And they look into extremism, they look into terrorism, they look into those who appease it, fund it. A new study by the Network Contagion Research Institute, NCRI, alleges that major U.S. and European news outlets served as uncritical megaphones for Hamas-linked narratives during the war with Israel and Gaza, amplifying claims that ultimately undermined a U.S.-backed food relief operation while shielding the terrorist group from scrutiny. This is why I call our media Pravda and Al Jazeera America. The 102-page report titled The Fourth Estate Sale, How America and European Media Became an Uncritical Mouthpiece for a Designated Foreign Terror Organization, concludes that outlets including MSNBC, CNN, The Washington Post, and Reuters published or promoted unverified claims sourced from the Gaza Health Ministry, which is Hamas, without disclosing that it's controlled by Hamas, a U.S. designated foreign terrorist organization. These narratives, according to the study, falsely blamed the U.S.-based Gaza Humanitarian Foundation for deadly incidents and fed conspiracy theories that spread across global media and social networks. And that would include, of course, guys like Dave Smith, this jerk Cooper, the people who host them and platform them, those people. We need to audit the media, a senior researcher at NCRI and a lead author of the study who wished to remain anonymous told Fox News Digital. What we found is not just bias, it's the laundering of information warfare. When a terrorist-linked health ministry makes a claim and that claim becomes the basis for international headlines without independent verification or source transparency, that's not journalism. That is narrative laundering, and it puts real people at risk. And look at what it's done to the attitudes of so many in this country. Reverend Johnny Moore, president of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, told Fox News Digital that the report validates what he and his team have been enduring on the ground since launching the operations in 2025. The Reverend said, Reverend Moore, on one level, I wasn't surprised by the findings because I've been experiencing the effect of these lies for weeks. But on the other hand, I was shocked by the sheer scale of it all. Let's be clear, media outlets in the United States, the UK, and continental Europe are literally doing the work of terrorists. They've become the default press secretaries for designated terrorist organizations. As absurd as that sounds, that's exactly what has happened. According to the GAF, the group has delivered over 70 million meals to Gazan civilians since May 2024, without a single aid truck being looted. The NCRI report cites this as a direct threat to Hamas's control over Gaza's traditional aid economy, which has long relied on systems that the terror group can exploit, divert, and weaponize. They write papers and letters and sign documents, and yet we're doing it, said GHF Interim Executive Director John Aker. He said in response to NGO criticism, he implored those groups to please come help us. We believe Hamas has made over $1 billion last year from manipulating the system of aid managed by the United Nations and others, said Reverend Moore. They take free food and then they sell it. They hoard it for their fighters. They use it to recruit. So when we came in and disrupted the pipeline, Hamas saw us as a threat to their business model and their control. According to NCRI, every time the GAF distributed aid, anti-Semitic and conspiratorial online narratives increased in intensity, including claims the group was feeding Palestinians drug-laced food. These spikes in disinformation, the report says, often coincided with milestones like new site openings or meal delivery totals, suggesting a coordinated effort to discredit their operation online. The study documents a pattern in which major media platforms published or aired claims that were later found to be incorrect, often without public correction or transparency. CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, Reuters, AP. These phony influencers, a.k.a. de-influencers. Even people like Rogan. I'm being perfectly honest with you. It's a disgrace. The NCRI study had this to say about the report. CNN blamed the IDF and the U.S.-backed GHF for the deaths of over 30 civilians based solely on the Hamas Health Ministry's word. Remember, I pointed this out. The CNN tweet, which went viral and garnered nearly 500,000 views, did not include context about the health ministry's terror ties, nor did it indicate the unverified nature of the claim beyond stating CNN could not independently confirm the details. And the report further notes CNN later updated its story, citing an Israeli denial and including more context. But the viral post remained unchanged. This illustrates the speed at which misleading narratives can spread and the slow, often inadequate pace of correction. Fox News Digital sought a response from CNN. CNN said there was never any doubt that the AIDS center in question was a GHF AIDS site. We did not associate the GHF with the incident. The shootings occurred along the approach route to the aid distribution site, approximately 800 meters from it, and involved people walking there to get aid, a point which no one disputes. So they're even implying it now. CNN added their reporting relied on multiple sources, including eyewitnesses and background confirmation from an Israeli official and so forth. In its later update, CNN stated it cannot independently verify who was responsible for the shooting, noting that international media does not have access to Gaza. Well, Hamas terrorists were shooting Palestinian citizens to prevent them from getting the food and to destroy the GHS, which we were involved in too, supporting, that is, the GHS food pipeline. CNN later added Israel's denial to its full story, quoting the IDF. An exclusive statement to Fox News Digital, the IDF confirmed that it allows the U.S.-based Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to operate independently within distribution zones, adding that forces have implemented safety upgrades, including fencing, signage, and new access routes to minimize friction with civilians. The report also singles out MSNBC last month for amplifying unverified claims. It says MSNBC aired a segment alleging that Israeli forces fired on a crowd near a food distribution site affiliated with GHF, citing the Gaza Health Ministry's claims. At no point in the segment was the health ministry identified as being run by Hamas. The clip that aired on MSNBC's Morning Joe remains online with clarification, not correction, added in the description. NCRI analysts noted that MSNBC aired no comparable editorial scrutiny of the Hamas-run ministry. MSNBC later referenced the broader controversy in a follow-up segment the next morning on June 20. NCRI also flagged a Reuters report as an example of misidentification in headline summaries. The report included references to an unnamed private foundation, which NCRA claims contributed to confusion, misattribution, and reputational harm. NCR study highlighted the Washington Post social media activity as a prominent example of how unverified claims can rapidly spread. According to the report, on June 1, the Washington Post tweeted at least 30 people were killed in northern Gaza while waiting for food aid trucks to arrive, the Gaza Health Ministry said. The tweet did not mention Hamas or the ministry's affiliation with the group. And the tweet quickly went viral, garnering more than 2.4 million views in less than 24 hours. It amplified by numerous prominent influencers, and even cited by at least 2 foreign government officials as a rationale to impose sanctions on the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. It goes on and on and on. Washington Post, New York Times. And I'm probably the only voice in media who has said here over and over and over again what this fake Hamas health ministry is doing, the information that's being used, the propaganda, day in and day out. And you wonder why people think the Israelis are killing little babies and so forth and so on and starving people. You can thank the American news media, worldwide, but the American news media. You can thank CNN. You can thank MSNBC. You can thank the Washington Post and the New York Times. You can thank Reuters and AP. You can thank the so-called influencers in our country, podcasters, the anti-Semites. all pushing this. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Another big one, breaking news. This is from members of the Committee on the Judiciary. This is just released. Subject, the Biden-Harris regime funding of anti-Netanyahu non-governmental organizations. If you stick with this program, we talked about the likelihood of this. We couldn't get our hands around it. And here it is. Thank God the Republicans run the House. Thank God the Republicans run the Senate. Thank God Donald Trump's in office and runs the executive branch, or we wouldn't know any of these things in any detail. Oh, and there's another attack on Trump, and I'll get to that a little later. On March 26, 2025, the Committee on the Judiciary and the Committee on Foreign Affairs sent letters to 6 U.S. and Israeli non-governmental organizations, called NGOs, to request documents related to any grants, cooperative agreements, or other awards received from the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, or the State Department. See, the reason the left and the media went nuts about USAID, this is their money hole. This is what they use to fund radical left-wing groups all over the world. The 6 NGOs were Blue White Future, Movement for Equality Government in Israel, PEF Israel Endowment Funds, Jewish Communal Fund, Middle East Peace Dialogue Network, and Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. To date, the organizations have produced 380 total documents. This memorandum provides an update on the inquiry and a summary of the committee's key findings. Let's see here. Israeli NGO Blue White Future received funds from NGOs, including some U.S. grant recipients, and funded the coalition headquarters for the anti-Netanyahu judicial reform protest. I'm cutting to the headlines just because we're running out of time. Number 2, the Biden-Harris regime provided $42,000 to an Israeli NGO, Movement for Equality Government, to conduct civic activism training in Israeli high schools. These are all leftists. U.S. nonprofit number 3, PEF Israel Endowment Funds, provided over $884 million to groups involved in anti-democracy protests in Israel. These were protests which were really pro-judicial tyranny in Israel, hardcore left. Tens of thousands were showing up in the streets, and what the Judiciary Committee and the Foreign Relations Committee in the House have now found is that there's been funding for this from the Biden regime through USAID. There was funding for efforts to overthrow the Netanyahu government by the Biden-Harris regime. Number 4, U.S. nonprofit Jewish Communal Fund. And just because there's the word Jewish in there doesn't mean it's pro-Israel. Provided over $42.8 million to the anti-Netanyahu protest headquarters in Israel and the protest's 2 main funders. $42.8 million. $42.8 million. The one I just read to you before was $884 million. $884 million. Sent to non-governmental organizations in Israel to overthrow the Netanyahu government. Now think about this, and I'm sure the so-called influencers, aka the de-influencers, I'm sure they'll be all over this tomorrow. Number 5, U.S. nonprofit Middle East Peace Dialogue Network may be violating provisions of U.S. law by funding anti-democracy protests in Israel. Number 6, Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. Anything named Rockefeller shouldn't be getting any tax dollars, I can tell you that. Likely provided portions of its $20 million in federal grants from the Biden-Harris regime to groups funding Israeli protests. Number 7, in addition to funding anti-democracy projects, the Biden-Harris regime provided U.S. government funding to terrorist-linked non-governmental organizations. To terrorist-linked non-governmental organizations. Conclusion, oversight conducted by the committee reflects the Biden-Harris administration's neglect and misuse of tax dollars through USAID and the State Department and other federal agencies, which were used to directly and indirectly fund the efforts of anti-Netanyahu organizations and terrorist groups. The committee's investigation is ongoing and is expanding to include additional American and Israeli non-governmental organizations that may be involved in funneling U.S. government funds with the purpose of undermining the Israeli government or for the support or fiscal sponsorship of terrorist organizations. You got that, America? Let's see how many media outlets, other than Fox and so forth, cover that. Let's see how many of these de-influencers cover that. How many of these de-influencers should apologize to you for the lies that they've been spewing about the Israelis in Gaza and the provision of funds? Think they'll read the report I just read to you? No, they won't. They're cowards. They're fools. They're phonies and they're frauds. Every damn one of them. Every damn one of them. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Okay. There's more incoming here. We'll deal with it after the bottom of the hour. Oh, Donald Trump sent a birthday card. A birthday card to Epstein, Mr. Producer. You see this big report now? Shows his close friendship to Epstein. This is the media now. This will be the de-influencers now. We're not buying it. It's all crap. It's all crap. I'll be right back.
Yes, it's true that Mark Levin is the fastest growing radio show in America. The Mark Levin Show is on at 877-381-3811.
I just read to you a memo from a joint committee of the House of Representatives that found that USAID, your tax dollars, were being used by the Biden-Harris administration to overthrow the Netanyahu government in Israel, a duly elected government. And I guarantee you that will not be the top story anywhere. Except Fox. Except here on my show. It'll still be Epstein and a birthday card and that stuff. Conservatives who have different platforms and everything, this is an abuse of power. It is a massive abuse of power where you're trying to overthrow the government of an ally? Of an ally? Let's see how many of these de-influencers are serious people. Let's see how many of these de-influencers apologize to you tomorrow about accusing Israel of starving the people in Gaza, when we now have this report from this independent organization. Let's see if we get apologies from these de-influencers about Netanyahu and so forth and so on. You won't see any of it. Why? Because most of them are Jew haters and anti-Semites. They platform these people, whether it's at a seminar, whether it's on their own shows, whatever it is. And I'm not interested in the occasions and the circumstances and the debates and all the rest of it. There's good and there's evil. There's right and there's wrong. Isn't that what we're taught in our faith? Whether you're Christian or Jewish or another faith, there's right and there's wrong. There's good and there's evil. Everything isn't debatable. Some things just are. There are eternal truths. Eternal truths. Let's jump in. Jeffrey, Chicago, Illinois, the great WLS. Jeffrey, how are you, sir?
I'm fine. Hello, Mark. I'm
good, thank you.
You're truly the great one. You're truly the great one, and we love you, and thank you for all of your books and for everything that you do.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you.
My father was a paratrooper in D-Day, and I'm here at your service to help fight the bad power out there.
God bless you, man, and God bless him. All right, Jeffrey, thank you. Chicago, Illinois, don't hang up. I'm going to send you a signed copy of On Power. We appreciate you. Appreciate that. Let's continue. Let's go to Vito. Vito, Brooksville, Florida, the great WXJB. Go right ahead.
Hey, Mark. How are you this evening?
I'm good, Vito. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, Mark. Hey, Mark, I wanted to elaborate a little bit about your, the whole Medicare, Medicaid thing with the illegals. And, Mark, I worked for the union for years, so I was covered and all those things. And for about 15 years now that I have not been covered. And to keep my COBRA plan, hell, it's $1,000 a month. And, I incorporated in between that time Lyme disease. I got where it almost paralyzed me from my waist down. And,
oh, my God.
It put a pretty hard toll on me. But, Mark, I'm a fighter. They put a PICC line in my arm that day. Well, I woke up one day paralyzed from my waist down. And
what?
They finally figured out what was wrong, weren't they? Oh, yes, sir.
Hold on now. And, are you still?
Oh, no, sir. No, sir. No.
Thank God.
This specialist that I found, he was a great man. He was a great doctor. And, I'm kind of like, I'm running up for Evel Knievel. I broke a whole lot of bones in my body over the years. Yeah. And every one of my ribs, my ankles, my elbows, my hands, and
you're
everything.
The bionic man.
But either which way, but Mark, gosh damn, I've had to pay for that for, the past 15 years. Every time, like, look, I don't go to the doctor or the hospital. Like, if I'm going somewhere, I'm going to the hospital because, okay, I spent 7 days at the house, and
last
now I'm
resort.
so bad that I can't fix it. Right.
Yeah.
So, and you get there, well, it's thousands of dollars, to do this little test and that little test. And,
right.
But the worst part that I see, Mark, I talked to and this doctor was great. The last one that I seen, he diagnosed me with gastritis. I was on the head for 7 days, and I couldn't get off it, and I started to get worried that I had something wrong with my intestines.
We're going to run out of time, but go ahead.
Yeah, yes, sir. So all these kids are in there. They're getting their fix. Like
they're getting what?
I mean, like they're going to the hospital
to get drugs.
Yeah, to get a shot. Right.
Shot of what?
My doors off, and morphine, or they're in pain and this and that. So I'm looking at this doctor. I'm like, and he's looking at me like I was in there for the same thing. I'm like, look, dude. I says I spent 7 days at the house dying. I said,
Vito, let me tell you something. I know it's tough, but you're cracking me up. You are a good guy. I love the way you're telling the story too about what's going on with you. I'm going to have to move on, but you're just terrific. I grew up with guys like you. Don't hang up. I want to send you a copy of On Power when it comes out as well. So that's Vito. President Trump put out a statement on Truth Social. The Wall Street Journal. I can't really say that part, Mr. Producer. Were warned directly by President Donald Trump that the supposed letter they printed by President Trump to Epstein was a fake. And if they print it, they will be sued. The editor of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, was told directly by Caroline Levitt and by President Trump that the letter was a fake. But Emma Tucker, what is with this Tucker stuff? Didn't want to hear that. Instead, they are going with a false, malicious, defamatory story anyway. President Trump, I'm leaving a name out. Let's see. The press has to learn to be truthful. I'm reading, the font is tiny and I'm trying to read it. The press has to learn to be truthful and not rely on sources that probably don't even exist. President Trump has already beaten George Stephanopoulos, ABC, 60 Minutes, CBS, and others. Looks forward to suing and holding accountable the once great Wall Street Journal. It has truly turned out to be, he writes, a disgusting and filthy rag, and writing defamatory lies like this shows their desperation to remain relevant. If there were any truth at all on the Epstein hoax as it pertains to President Trump, this information would have been revealed by Comey, Brennan, Crooked Hillary, and other radical left lunatics years ago. It certainly would not have sat in a file waiting for Trump to have won 3 elections. This is yet another example of fake news. This is the point that I make as well. Why would they sit on anything? They're doing everything they can to destroy him, to defeat him, civilly and criminally. They're not going to have something in the file that they think they could be used to stop him or hurt him or put him on his heels. They're not going to sit on it. Certainly knowing full well after the election, right after the election, that his people would have access to the files. Nah, doesn't make a lot of sense, does it to you, Mr. Producer? So President Trump is putting it to the test. He said, okay, now you're going to have to prove this document. You're going to have to prove it. And I think this is what he meant by hoax, probably, when he was talking earlier, 2 days or a day ago, that God knows what's in these files. God knows who did anything with these files. They've been out of control. In other words, out of his control, out of anybody's control. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
How many of you have taken 3 or 4 minutes of time out of your life to go to Amazon.com and pre-order your copy of On Power? Probably not most of you. Many of you have. I'd like to encourage you to do it. If there's any other way I can persuade you, this is a book I really want you to have and read when it comes out. Because if you're in this audience, I know this is a book you're going to want to have. It's under $24. Be delivered to your home the day it's released. It's going to be released in about 11 days. And before I get to the promotion of it on the different platforms, on Fox, on Talk Radio, our wonderful affiliates and so forth, I just want to encourage you to get in there and order your copy, get it. We have audio too, where I do the entire audio book and Kindle and so forth, but I personally like to hold a book in my hand anyway. So I want to encourage you, take just a few minutes, head over to Amazon.com and pre-order your copy of On Power. If you like this program, you listen to this program, if you like my program on Fox and you watch the program, if you like what I do on Blaze, you're going to absolutely love this book. You're going to very much understand the value once you read it. And it'll be wonderful for summertime reading because it comes out next July 29th. So you'll have it for a full month during the summertime too. So again, I want to encourage you. Just mosey over to Amazon.com. It'll take you a few minutes. Secure your copy. I want to remind you of our book signings. You're aware of the Reagan Library and that has been sold out, but also Saturday, August 2nd, 1 p.m., Books and Greetings, North Vale Square on North Vale, New Jersey. Wonderful new location for us. And then the following Saturday, August 9th at 10 a.m., another wonderful new location, Barnes & Noble, the Spectrum at Reston Town Center in Reston, Virginia. We will be at both. These are the only places you're going to be able to get signed copies of the book. And we have a good time, and it's always fun to meet you, and so forth and so on. All right, let's go to Arlene, Palm Springs, California, on the Mark Levin app. Arlene, how are you?
I am fine. How are you? You sound wonderful.
I feel great. Thank you.
Good. First off, I just want to thank you for your history lessons that you throw in every once in a while.
Oh,
some of the things that you say I have forgotten. Some of them I've never heard. But I appreciate you adding that in. It ties it all together nicely.
Thank you.
Also, I don't know, when I went to school many, many decades ago, I learned in 7th grade, mind you, the fall of the Roman Empire. Mm-hmm. We learned a lot from that book, and I see a lot of it taking place now. But I think that's part of the problem with the left. Number one, they don't have a citizenship class anymore. They don't know what their country's all about. They don't know any history. They've forgotten all that. They've gotten all this woke stuff, but they don't have any history. So they need you to teach history.
I do my best for God and country.
Yes, I know. I just wanted to tell you or make you aware, it might be different. You may already know it now. I was trying to get through yesterday, but good old California, our governor and our mayor of L.A., have decided that we're going to give illegals cash vouchers. Every one of them, I can't remember, it's 1,000 or 3,000.
I think it's 1,000. Yep.
Oh, is it? Okay. Anyway, so
who knows? By the time we're done, it might be 10,000.
Isn't that the truth? We have a governor that's begging the government for money to help with the
He's a clown. He's a fraud. He's a phony. He's an inch deep. He's destroyed what it was, the greatest state in the country, the most vibrant state, the wealthiest state. Everybody used to say, go west, young man, go west. They were talking about California. And now they're all saying, how the hell do I get out of here? Because these Democrats, one-party rule, they have destroyed the state. They've destroyed your beautiful cities, even though they were liberal. San Francisco, it looks like a dump now. My wife and I were there a few years ago. Even Union Square, the whole thing looks like a dump. What they've done to these cities is a disgrace. Look at L.A. L.A. looks like a third-world city. It just does. Totally out of control. Anyway, Arlene, I have to go. Don't hang up. I'm going to send you a signed copy also of my new book on power, and I want to encourage everybody out there. I can't send everybody a free book. Grab your copy. The price is de minimis for the value that's in the book. And I made sure that the publisher kept the price fairly low, for publishing purposes, very low. Because I know you're going to like this book, because I know you and you know me. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, and our truckers. We salute our friends in Ukraine and in Israel. And I salute you, the American people. Thank God for you. What would the world be without you? And I'm blessed that you're out there. Go Donald Trump. Go America. And I'll see you tomorrow.